In the previous video, we created the final versions of the point and the rectangle types. So first we defined the point class with a false in rectangle method, where we had in the method first we had a low left and an up right parameter, and then we replaced those two parameters with just a rectangle parameter, which would be replaced by the rectangle object instance. Now, if I wasn't teaching you this, if I was to build this program all by myself, I wouldn't go through all those steps, but I wanted to show you those steps so that you can compare things and see the errors you get when you do something wrong. So that's how you familiarize with classes and also Python programming in general. Now, in this video, I want to show you how I would build this program without going through the intermediate steps. So let me show you that. Okay, I got these requirements where I have to build this program with a point which can fall in a rectangle. So I'll just right away write an point and a rectangle class. So I have two types now. This is what I suggest you to do first. So just write all the types with their init functions like that, without writing any methods. So just seeing all the attributes first, not the methods. I know that a point is defined by an x and a y value, and I know that a rectangle is defined by a low left and an upper right point. And then I want to find if the point falls in the rectangle, so I want to add a new method there. Define false in rectangle. So this is the final version of the two classes. And as you can see, I would just go ahead and put rectangle there right away. Because see what the method says. It says a false in rectangle. So point false in rectangle. In what rectangle? So I'm just going to put a rectangle there, which is going to be replaced by the rectangle object instance. So now we have the backend. Let's call this the backend. This is a core of the program. Now let's build the interface that is going to interact with the user. In this case, it's a command line interface. So a text-based interface, no graphical user interface, no browser here, just a command line. So we want to interact with the user. So first we want to show the user some random coordinates of the rectangle. Therefore, we need to create a rectangle with some random coordinates. How do we create a rectangle? Well, using the rectangle type that we have. Now, there's a module that can become useful here, the randint module. Let me show you how it works. So with randint, you can create a random integer. So anytime I execute that, I get a new integer which is inside this range. Let's work with integers for now. Let's keep things simple. So to create a rectangle object instance, I would do this. So I'm referring to rectangle type to create that rectangle object, and that object needs a low left and upper right point. That's the point for low left up to here. So it's a point object with a random number as its x value and a random number for its y value. So those two numbers produce the point object, the first point, and then we have the second point for upright, which is the same thing, the same idea, but here I'm creating integers from 10 to 19, so that's the lower left point is on the left, so its x is always less than 9. In other words, the right x will always be on the right of 9. This is what I do to ensure that. Same thing goes for y, it has to be above the y of the lower left corner. So 10 to 19, and then once I create that object, I want to print out a message to the user. So it's print out rectangle coordinates. That's the first thing I print out, a string, and then I print out the x of the low left corner of the rectangle. As you see, this is quite readable now. And then I print a comma, and then I print out the y of the rectangle, low left corner, another string, and then the x of the upright corner, a comma, and the y of the upright corner again. And this is what we have so far. So we are able to create a random rectangle object, just like that. Now we want to see if a point given by the user is inside the rectangle. So we need to create a point object instance, and we need to get the coordinates of that point from the user. I would do this. So I call the point type, and as the x of the point, I'm taking the input from the user, showing them a message, and they will put an input there. They will write something, a number. I'll convert that number to a float. I'm letting them use floats. You can also use int here, but I'm using this to convert it because user input, when user types something, it goes inside Python as a string. So you need to convert it to a number. So that's for x and that's for y. And then all is left to do is try to see if that point is inside the rectangle. So I'll print something like that. User point, which is a point object I just created in here, false in rectangle. Which rectangle? The rectangle that was generated in here. That's it. Guess x. 8. Execute. Guess y. 9. Execute. True. Looks like I won this time. So that's a process. Once you have the types, you can just take the things step by step what you want to do. So you want to show the user the rectangle, so you create that rectangle. You want to take a value from them, well, you can. I did this in one line, but you could also do this. So first you could have this expression here and say x equals to that, and then instead of that you could put x, but I prefer this way. So you get the coordinates of the user, you create that point object instance, and then you check what you need to check here using the method, and that's it.